Where there is smoke, often there is fire, at least politically speaking. When you see people engaged in the kind of immorality of supporting a genocidal ethno state like Israel, people who are ardent Zionists, you will often find skeletons in their closet. Take, for example, Peter Mandelson, one of the people who was on a primary kind of mission on his agenda was to take out Corbyn um, as the leader of the Labour Party and turn Labour Party from a working class Labour centric party, which would be odd considering that is literally the name of the party, to a pro business, pro capitalistic, and pro Zionist party. He, Peter Manson, is basically the right hand, kind of the one of the one of the shadowy figures behind Tony Blair and what we call Blairism. When really Tony Blair didn't coin this. Tony Blair's merely holding the baton that was handed to him by Margaret Thatcher, and the privatization of the public sector, taking away also power from the working class and supporting what we consider the international cooperation with countries like the US, as well as um, reinforcing standards of international cooperation that benefit the West in particular, which at the expense, which is good. Obviously you need cooperation, but it's often at the expense of the rest of the world, which kind of why it's so deeply immoral. It's good on paper until you read the fine print and you realize the whole world is destroyed as a result. This is the Blairism is kind of one of many kind of ideologies, but really it's just me firstism that was pushed by Peter Mandelson, and you can see this in how Peter Mandelson pursued his own career ambitions, both in and outside office. Of course, Peter Mandelson was one of the best pals of Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, he called Jeffrey Epstein my best pal, and even years after the conviction of the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was found to be a PDF file. And let's not forget, the, Alan Dershowitz, this is the lawyer for Jeffrey Epstein, would say that he's not a PDF file because, of course, he is convicted on charges of trafficking of minors who are 17 years old. But let's not forget that there are hundreds of people waiting in line who are waiting to, of course, take Jeffrey Epstein to court from people as young as 12, 13, 14. Or at least very clearly, you don't need to do very much. You don't need to go through the court documents. The first allegation that led to his conviction was of by a 14-year-old. So obviously, again, you wouldn't have um, you wouldn't have a conviction in the first place if there wasn't if it wasn't a clear pattern. Um, and this is evidenced in the Epstein files and emails. And this is this immorality, this kind of this belligerence, this kind of audacity of this billionaire who has all the riches in the world, is trying to seek that next taboo and exploitation of the vulnerable, because of course billionaires think that they're above everyone else for the most part, and for that reason, what's going to stop them from thinking that they're above the law and kind of any consideration for vulnerable people? Of course, this is not something that is in contradiction to Zionism, which itself also believes that one ethnicity is better than all the other ethnicities, and therefore any kind of immoral action that they could kind of that would everyone we intuitively believe is immoral, they can kind of, direct that immorality towards vulnerable people of other ethnicity because they're already inferior to begin with, and even if they're atheist, they do believe that they're God's chosen people. So it's this pessimism, but also self-interest and self motivated kind of action, which is complete at odds. That it's kind of the 180 degrees turn from Corbyn, and what people consider Corbynism, but really it's a social democracy. It's not a democratic socialism, but it's social democracy. It's kind of having a kind of a worker focused, worker supported, and working, the vulnerable people supporting system, which still sits within capitalism. So it's not necessarily that particularly radical. Bernie Sanders is very much aligned with kind of this ideology of making sure everyone has healthcare, everyone has the basic needs met, but also within this society of capitalism, because maybe they know realistically the overthrow of capitalism is not going to happen overnight, and it will require the democratic consensus of the people. But Peter Mandelson has been arrested due to his connection with Jeffrey Epstein. The fact that he opposed Jeremy Corbyn is a symptom of the immorality that was already there. This demon who was a big fan of Jeremy Corbyn and of Jeffrey Epstein, this demon who's supported by the other demon, Keir Starmer, they're all in cahoots with each other. They're all supporting each other, and would never support Jeremy Corbyn, despite the fact that he's quite clearly a noble person and has noble beliefs, noble desires to support the working class, their fellow man, the vulnerable people, the disabled people. These people are more out for themselves, and this is seen in the careerism of Keir Starmer, the self-interest of Peter Mandelson, and the paedophilia of Jeffrey Epstein. So, give me a break. What we consider New Labour it's more just PDF file, pedo Labour. Unfortunately, as long as there is we have a society which is run in this kind of two-party, but really one direction country, where it's first past the post. Unless there is reform, unless there is kind of like real structural changes in society, you're going to have people at the top trying to dictate what happens below. And whilst we might see reprieves from this, we might see a kind of a silver lining might emerge, such as Jeremy Corbyn. They will try and shut him down. And the sorts of people who would shut him down, other people implicated in the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein or are best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. But anyways, let's enjoy this moment. Let's also enjoy that Palestinian action has been found, the ban against it has been unlawful. Let's also celebrate the fact that Prince Andrew, Peter Mandelson have been arrested for their obviously immorality, their misdeeds, and breaking the law at the expense of the everyday person, the working class, the nation that they purport to believe in. And Jeremy Corbyn has the last laugh. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.